tomorrow.
Wow. How?
Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. Yeah. Unconfirmed. No.
Whatever.
Unconfirmed reports about Gaddafi being captured. Oh, really? And that is the land of unconfirmed. Yes, we came, we saw, he died. Did it have anything to do with your visit? No, I'm sure it did.
So the first time I saw that video, I questioned if it was real. That was my first reaction to it, is that, we live in an age now of artificial intelligence, CGI, AI, all of these things. And I said to myself that, look, first of all, verify that this is actually a real video and that these are real images before you even reacting or forming any kind of conclusion as to Hillary Clinton's reaction to Gaddafi's demise. So I went online and I searched online, so you can do the same thing. And I found out that no, it is 100% real. It's actually on the CNN website. So it's not even like it's ripped and somebody sort of sneaked the footage and got it out. CNN website actually has the first piece of what you saw. I couldn't find on their website the part where she's laughing, because obviously that happened a bit afterwards. But the piece that they do have is where she's giving the phone and saying that there is unconfirmed reports of Gaddafi's capture. And she's like, not sure if it's confirmed or not. And she's asking those questions. And then obviously we see how she reacts. You see, the thing about this, and I put this video up on my social media channels and I saw the reaction to it, which is the reason why I wanted to give you my own thoughts, is there are so many levels to that video clip and the reaction that she has. And so many things it says about Hillary Clinton herself, America, American foreign policy in Africa, Africa's future, where Africa stands now of having Gaddafi removed and what has happened to Libya, and the future in terms of the way that we need to process our relationship with the West, with America, with the UK, with France, with Germany, because all of these countries were NATO countries, because it was NATO that did what they did in Libya and went and supported that situation. And then the second part of this is just on a human level, for somebody to react in that way to somebody's Xing out, when that person didn't do anything to her, didn't do anything to her people. We know in hindsight that you didn't really care about the Libyan people, because if you did, there's a lot of things you would have done for them after he was removed. You've done none of that. So what was the glee for? And it was the glee in her face, in the laughter, the joy. It was really disturbing to see that, because I'm thinking to myself that, my goodness, that place is a hellhole now, Libya. Libya was one of the most developed countries in Africa, if not the most developed, but it was one of. And it was ruled by Muammar Gaddafi for 40 years. So he was one of the last of the original presidents or leaders of an African nation post-colonialism. So after colonialism, there was a whole set of the first presidents and first leaders of Africa who had visions of Pan-Africanism and uniting the continent and so on. And one by one, all of them either got X'd out, allegedly by the West. I'm going to make a video about that in future. And ousted, undermined, removed, exiled, so on and so forth. But he was one of the last men standing. Now, he had designs on the gold dinar, which was going to be a gold-backed currency for Africa, self-sufficiency, removing the influence of the West, removing the ability of the West to siphon resources out of Africa without fair recompense, and so on and so forth. He did an amazing speech at the United Nations in 2009, another video that I am going to make as well. And you should just be subscribed. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of these things. And obviously to my newsletter as well. But I'm going to be putting out this speech that he gave. And people say that speech was the beginning of the end for him, because he basically explained very clearly where he stood on foreign policy from the West and what he had, or the vision he had for Africa as a continent. Not Libya, the country, but Africa as a continent. Anybody who's a Pan-African and anybody who believes in African unity and African salvation and sovereignty and autonomy and prosperity, it's very difficult for you to really know what Gaddafi did and not respect him, even if you don't like him. It's very difficult for you to look at his track record, if you care about Africa being solid, this guy was so committed to African unity that he lost his life for it. Quite simply, like his commitment to it. And he showed how skin color, religion, all of these things are secondary to what we should be holding as important for our continent. That is why he is so revered by so many people who are true Pan-Africanists. Because when you really know about who Muammar Gaddafi was, especially forget who he was, what he actually achieved in Libya, and the kinds of policies he was trying to foster with other African nations, it's very difficult for you to have an issue with him. This is not to say he was an angel. This is not to say that he didn't do anything that was draconian. But the same thing exists in pretty much every Western nation. And there are many Western leaders who were categorical war criminals. Categorical war criminals, not hypothesis or whatever. George W. is a war criminal. By definition, like if you look at the Iraq war, you presided over an absolutely illegal war where countless people have lost their lives. Nobody talks about George W. the way they talk about Gaddafi in the West. And the list goes on. We can talk about so many leaders in America and presidents who have presided over wars, invasions, and subjugation of other nations, genocides, and so on and so forth. Now, Hillary Clinton wanted him out, and we now know this because of the email leak. And so did Sarkozy, the French president. We know this because of the email leak. And when you look at those emails and you read the emails, which are available online, so please go ahead and go and check those out, you see the concern that they have over Gaddafi's policies and his influence in Africa, and the desire that they have to consolidate their influence in Africa and the oil fields that Libya has. Like, you just read the emails. This is in their own words. So this is not something that you say, oh, well, maybe you can just look at them and make a decision for yourself. That is beyond the remit of this particular video. As I said, I'm trying to do this in piecemeal because every time people come to my content, I try to do this in as simplified a way as possible, even for myself, because I'm learning about so many of these things for the first time myself. So as I learn it, I try to convey the information to my audience in a way that they will understand and it's easy for me to even process as I'm going through it. So we established that she wanted him out and it wasn't about the people. You see what I'm saying? Like when you look at that, it's not like this person had this overwhelming empathy for the suffering of the people of Libya. That Sarkozy and Clinton and Obama and Blair and all these sort of guys had this overwhelming empathy for the Libyan people. They didn't talk about that behind closed doors. In front of the cameras and in the public sphere, that was all they talked about. Benghazi, this and that, and the protests and the things. Behind closed doors, we see those messages and we realize that, no, this is about oil. This is about influence. This is about preventing him from making the strides that he was trying to make. Because it's interesting that this man has been there for 40 years, but after 2009, he makes a speech like that, and within 2 years, he's gone. That, it's a bit too much of a coincidence for even the most cynical amongst you to accept. So, most of us in the general sphere didn't really know about these machinations or weren't even aware of Hillary Clinton's emails. I only became aware of the details of the emails a few years ago when I started this platform and I started researching particular videos. It was actually my Black Panther video. And if you've not seen that, you should see the Black Panther video and the Wakanda Forever video. Both videos, everybody needs to watch both of those, especially the Wakanda Forever video, which is an epic. Those will be linked at the end of this video for you to check out. It was one of those situations where when I then researched it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is something everybody should know in Africa. Everybody should know that this is not conjecture, that these people categorically wanted to remove Gaddafi because of his influence. This was not about the people. This was not about democracy. This was not about liberation. This was not about human rights. It wasn't about the goodwill. No, none of that. It wasn't about peace. It was about war, not about anything honest, not about anything fair or just or good. Now, once you establish those things, and I finished and I fully established that, I then looked forward and I said, wait a second. So that's what they wanted, and then they turned Libya into a hellhole and walked away. And Africa let them do it. We allowed these people to do this. Some of us in Africa also supported the concept that this man was a despot, he was a dictator, which is the narrative that keeps getting pushed. What I find very interesting is that whenever I do release a video about anything to do with, or I mention Gaddafi, and you look at the comments, you get a lot of white people, people from other parts of the world who come on the comments and they comment about him being a dictator and he was harming his own people and whatever, parroting the narrative. And this is the reason why I say it is so important to understand the power of narrative control. When I read the comments, it is literally like they're cutting and pasting the talking points of CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of the CBS, all of these things, and the Foreign Office of the United States of America and the UK, and Germany and France, and NATO. It is literally like you're reading talking points from them when you read the comments. In this video, you will get comments like that. You will get comments like that in this video. So when you look at it, you say, listen, people are just ignorant. You must have the fortitude and strength to ignore their rhetoric. Do not engage with them. Their opinion has no weight in the world that is coming, in the future that is on its way, and the future of Africa and our self-determination as Africans. Their opinions are completely irrelevant. Every single time you engage in a back and forth with such individuals, you cheapen the conversation and the gravity of what it is that we're trying to achieve. Because I've come to an age where I am really, really passionate about creating a better Africa for my children and for the generations coming behind me, which is the reason why I keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not getting rich off this. I keep doing this because I realize how important it is to create a counter narrative to what is being put out there, because I saw a reaction like this from this lady of glee and joy, which now told me exactly why you guys did what you did. On an empathy level, this is a human being that even if he was a terrible person, the jubilation, you would only think you would get that kind of joy if you were literally in a war with the person. If this was your direct adversary, this is somebody thousands and thousands of miles away that you have nothing to do with. And you have that kind of joy and the phrasing. And again, unless this is an AI-generated deepfake, we came, we saw, he died, and then you're laughing about it? Listen, guys, that is warmongering on a level that is frightening. That is what you call a warmonger. That is literally what you call a warmonger. That is not a person of peace. That is not a person of peace. So when you see them, the rhetoric of we want peace and justice and calm and we don't want the loss of life, nonsense. African lives have no value to these people. They are of no value. The collateral damage of the ousting of Gaddafi was not important to Hillary Clinton and Obama, as it turns out, or to any of these guys. The collateral damage was not important. I believe that Obama actually won a Nobel Peace Prize for this act. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. This, again, which is what I mean about narrative control. You're so tightly in control of narrative that in spite of the disaster of a decision this was, because the powers that be is also controlled by the United States and the West, they then award you something that creates a prestige that is completely fabricated. Look at Iraq. You had a phony war there that wasn't even legitimate. You take out Saddam Hussein and that place turns into a hellhole. What you did to Libya is the same thing you did to Iraq. You create some trumped up thing, you go in there, destabilize a place and just walk away. But, as I said, when I look at the reaction and I look at the way that people have reacted to this video of her, I realize how much work we have to do as platforms, as content creators, in this space, in the particular space that I'm talking about. We have a lot of work to do because a lot of people just simply don't know. It is important that we put the information out there. It is important that we show people the truth about what is really going on. Regardless, guys, please leave your comments. I would like to know your thoughts. I would like to know how you feel about what I've said, and how you feel having seen that video about Hillary Clinton and the United States foreign policy, and if it illuminated anything for you, if it gave you any new perspectives on the way that you see what happened in Libya, how you see Gaddafi, and how you see the future. Because, my motivation for even posting that video is because we've been talking a lot about this new crop of leaders in West Africa and the Sahel Alliance, which has become, a lightning rod for Africa. And what Assimi Goïta, Captain Traoré, General Tiani, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, all of these people are doing, trying to break away from neocolonialism and France and so on. And seeing that, and now looking at what they've done to leaders who tried before. That's the reason why this is so important, because that kind of glee and joy at the demise of Gaddafi is the kind of glee and joy they would have if they could take out some of these guys or all of these guys who are trying to do what they're trying to do. So it is down to us as a community to make sure that we are fully abreast and aware of exactly what is going on. If you enjoyed that video and want to watch or listen to more, consider subscribing to the Al-Kabalan newsletter and podcast. Link in my bio.